I never thought I'd be the one to tell this story. Even now, 5 years later, my hands shake when I think about that October night. But Detective Morrison says it might help. Help me process everything. Help others understand how blind we can be to the people we love. So, here it is. The truth. About how my mother killed my father, and how I helped put her behind bars. My father, Richard Chen, was the kind of man who remembered everyone's birthday. He worked as an accountant at a small firm downtown. Nothing glamorous, but it paid the bills. My mother, Catherine, was different. She grew up wealthy, old money from her grandfather's shipping business, but her family lost everything in bad investments when she was in college. She married my father when she was 23, and I think she spent every day after that resenting him for not being rich. The obsession started small. Magazine subscriptions to Architectural Digest and Luxury Living. Online shopping carts abandoned because we couldn't afford the items. Then came the credit cards, maxed out one by one. My father would find the statements and they'd fight, voices rising from the kitchen while I pretended to do homework upstairs. "We can't afford this, Catherine," he'd plead. Her response was always the same. "You can't afford this. I wasn't meant to live like this." Everything changed when Dad's uncle died and left him a small inheritance, $50,000. Not life-changing money, but enough to breathe. Mom had different ideas. Within a week, she had convinced him to take out a massive life insurance policy. "We need to be responsible now," she said sweetly at dinner. "What if something happens to you? What would we do?" I was 19 then, home from college for the summer. I remember thinking it was odd how suddenly she cared about financial responsibility. The prescriptions started in August. Dad complained of headaches, nausea, fatigue. Mom was so attentive, always bringing him water, his pills, homemade smoothies. "You're working too hard, honey," she'd coo. He went to 3 different doctors. They found nothing wrong. I came home for Labor Day weekend and barely recognized him. He'd lost 20 pounds, his skin had a grayish tint, his hands trembled. "The doctors say it's stress," Mom explained. Her hand on his shoulder. Her grip looked tight. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Back at school, I couldn't concentrate. I'd call home and Mom would answer, always with an excuse why Dad couldn't come to the phone. "He's sleeping, he's too weak, the doctor says rest is best." One night I couldn't sleep and started Googling Dad's symptoms. That's when I fell down the rabbit hole. Antifreeze poisoning. Every symptom matched. Sweet taste, easily hidden in drinks, and it mimicked natural illness perfectly. I called Dad's cell phone directly at 6 a.m. when I knew Mom would be in the shower. His voice was barely a whisper. "Hey, kiddo. Dad, have you been drinking anything Mom made specially for you?" Silence. Long, terrible silence. You... Why would you ask that? His voice had changed now. There was fear in it. "Dad, I think..." The line went dead. Mom had picked up the extension. "Your father needs to rest. Stop calling so early." Click. I drove home that day. 4 hours straight, skipping all my classes. But I didn't go to the house. I went to the police station. I felt insane walking in there, like the worst daughter in the world. The detective on duty, Morrison, was skeptical at first, until I showed him my research, Dad's symptoms, the timeline of the insurance policy. "Let me make some calls," he said. His expression had changed from dismissive to focused. They got to Dad just in time. His blood ethylene glycol levels were through the roof. Another week, and his kidneys would have failed completely. Mom had been putting antifreeze in his health smoothies for 3 months. Small amounts, just enough to make him progressively sicker. The pharmacy record showed she'd been picking up his prescriptions from 5 different locations, prescriptions she'd been throwing away while keeping him sick. The trial lasted 4 weeks. The prosecutor laid it all out. Mom had gambling debts no one knew about. Online poker, high-stakes websites, nearly $100,000 in the hole to some very dangerous people. The insurance policy would have cleared everything and left her with plenty extra. She'd researched undetectable poisons on our home computer, bought automotive supplies from 4 different stores, even practiced her grieving widow speech on voice memos found on her phone. Mom showed no remorse. Not at the trial, not at sentencing, not ever. She got 25 years to life for attempted murder. I visited her once, 6 months after she went away. She looked at me through that glass partition and said, "You destroyed this family." Not "I'm sorry," not "I was sick," just blame. I hung up the phone and walked out. I've never been back. Dad recovered slowly, physically at least. The betrayal cut deeper than any poison. We sold the house. Neither of us could stand to be there. He retired early, and we moved to a smaller place across town. We don't talk about her much. What is there to say? The woman we loved never really existed. She was always just Catherine, the girl who lost her fortune and decided someone else should pay the price. The thing that haunts me isn't that she tried to kill him. It's how good she was at pretending. The concerned wife, the loving mother. For months, she brought him poison with a smile, kissed his forehead, told him she loved him, all while planning his funeral. How do you reconcile that? How do you trust anyone again when the person who made you breakfast could be planning your murder? Detective Morrison tells me I saved Dad's life. Some days I believe him. Other days I wonder if I should have known sooner. The signs were there. But we don't want to believe the people we love are monsters. We explain away the red flags, rationalize the strange behavior because the alternative is unthinkable. Until it isn't. Until you're sitting in a police station at dawn, turning in your own mother. Here's what I learned. Money doesn't just corrupt. It reveals. Mom wasn't turned evil by debt. She was always willing to do whatever it took to get what she wanted. The money just showed us who she really was. And the worst part, if I'd been less paranoid, less curious, less suspicious, Dad would have been dead. Mom would have been wealthy, and no one would have known it was murder. That's the real horror. Not that it happened, but how close it came to working. Dad tells me I'm the brave one, but I don't feel brave. I feel like the kid who broke their own family apart, even if that family was built on lies, even if I saved a life. Some nights I still wake up wondering, what if I'm wrong? What if the doctors were wrong? What if Mom was innocent? But then I remember her voice on the prison phone. Cold. Calculating. Blaming me for ruining her plan. And I know I wasn't wrong at all.